If I get the sugar out of the banana, nobody will eat those bananas. If I remove sugar from that watermelon, oh my goodness, I will sell them to myself. You know very well. Who knows the taste of vitamins? Who? So then you ask me, why am I eating fruits? And I confidently tell you, I'm eating them because they are healthy. It's a lie. You're eating them because they are sweet. One of the organs that plays a very important role in digestion is this organ called the liver. And it's actually on the right upper quadrant. You see, when you divide, let me not even take you into the science of this. When you just touch below your ribs, when you try to push below your ribs, there is a soft, like a soft tissue there, an organ that is soft there. That is your liver, basically. And when that liver is deformed, when you try to press at this point on your just below your right rib, you will feel a lot of pain and that tenderness. That is an indicator that that organ is having a lot of problems. So again, when I see somebody with a pot belly that looks watery, when you push it this side, it plays like a wave. It's another sign of a fatty liver. When I see somebody with a distended abdomen, I see somebody with very dry eyes, I see somebody complaining about hormonal imbalance, I see somebody with those spider veins, the veins that look blue, and mostly those women who have bleached their skin, most women who are using skin products, or these guys who are very light. When you have a very light skin, I can easily see those spider, like a cobweb, like network of blood vessels, the veins. I see a fatty liver in you. I see a problem with the liver. And then I ask, what is this fatty liver? Because when you just say a fatty liver, everybody's wondering, what is a fatty liver? So it determines what is important and what is not important, what is toxic, what is not toxic, what should be retained in the body and what should go outside the body. So we will get to understand that in the liver we have two or three channels of metabolism, the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. But we'll talk about phase 1 and phase 2, which basically they either make things active or inactive, depending on how toxic these things are, so that we can either retain them in the body or we ease them and release them from the body through stool or through urine, even through sweat. So the liver is a very important organ because of the different functions that it plays. Now, even if you eat poison, the liver is the organ that will protect you against that poison. And most of us eat poisons. We think we eat foods, and in real sense, we eat food products, which are basically poisons. But our liver is very lenient, and there is a reason why the liver is the only organ that will rejuvenate even after failing to a level that was considered done. The liver can still rejuvenate back and give you a fresh and very, very well functioning liver. Now, the interesting part about the body is that God designed your body very perfectly to have some form of self-healing. What do I mean by self-healing? There is an innate way of healing the system. For example, you have your immune system, which basically helps you fight diseases or anything that is coming into the system from outside. But most importantly, you have a system that helps you heal naturally. When you have messed up your system through inflammation, through bad foods, through all these issues that you bring in, even medications, the side effects of drugs, there is an innate way of the body's healing, and it's inborn. It's something that we have from within. But the problem is we never take a chance to actually activate this innate healing, and we never take a chance to give the body the nutrients or the armory for the body to use to help you in the healing process. Remember, you are the one that messes up your body. But this body was designed to actually protect you because God understood that you will mess anyway. So this body is designed to not only fight diseases and infections through your immunity, but also to help you heal from what you're causing the body. For example, if you keep on eating the three foods, and these are foods that most of you eat all the time, the seed oils, aka the vegetable oils, those that are written on 0% cholesterol, highly inflammatory foods. And I told you the seed oils, cold pressing a seed to get the oil is not a problem. But how much of the oil shall you get in that seed? Very minimal. And the industries know for you to press these seeds to get an adequate amount of oils from these seeds, you have to press it so tightly, and then you have to expose it under so much heat so that you get enough of the oil from this seed. This is for the nuts. This is for the seeds. This is for the olives. This is for the legumes. For you to get enough oil from these seeds or these legumes, you need to press it so high and you need to expose it to very high temperatures. That is where the problem begins. Because all vegetable oils are actually unsaturated. When I talk about unsaturation, I mean they have double bonds. When you have a double bond between two carbons, that is unsaturation. But when you have single bond, this is now organic chemistry. When you have a single bond, that is saturation. When it is saturated, it cannot allow anything else in. It cannot allow any other thing to bind on. That carbon is fully loaded with hydrogen. It cannot allow any other bonding. And it's a tough bond. So breaking that bond is very difficult. But when it comes to unsaturation, where we have the double bonds, remember they host or they harbor electrons that are just idle. They are there, they are loose, they are easy to oxidize. So when you expose these seeds under high temperatures, and then you press them very tightly or very hard to just get to extract all the juice and all the seeds, the oil from the seed, you're actually making a big mistake. And this is what is happening to the industrial processing. And then they use chemicals. They use the hexanes, which are neurotoxics. They kill your brain and your spinal cord. For them to get a pure substance from that oil, because it comes out as a gum and comes out with a very bad smell. So for them to get a very clear substance that you see on the supermarket shelves, they have to press it, they have to put it under high temperatures, they have to put hexane in it, to basically degum it. They have to put in chlorine to remove the scent. And now they serve you that thing that has preservatives and is written on all the vitamins, rich in vitamin E, vegetable oil, 0% cholesterol. And then you start wondering, how possible is it? How possible is it that now this substance is pure and it's supposed to be used for us to cook? And again, when it gets into your kitchen, you have again to heat it. That's the problem. It's already heated, oxidized already, coming out as an oxidized thing, which is full of radicals. And then you put it in your sufaria and again heat it. And then some of you buy those chips on the road. Those, they call it muitu. These have been fried in seed oils that have been reused, and they are so oxidized until by the time you're getting it in your system, you're just taking poison. But guess what? The liver is there to protect you against these poisons. That's the beauty about it. But every time you eat those seed oils, every time you eat that wheat product, the processed and refined wheat, every time there's biscuits, the cakes, the spaghettis, the chapati, the mandazi, every time you eat those things, every time you eat the sugars, and the most important sugar here has to be fructose, the fruit sugar and the honey sugar. And I will talk about fructose. So the more you eat these things, the body will convert them into glucose. Even the fructose will be converted, of course, will be absorbed as fructose, but all the carbohydrates, other carbohydrates, are converted to glucose. Now, when you get this glucose, you get a spike of glucose in your blood. Guess what happens? The body knows that when this glucose is going higher than the normal range, because in your blood you always have a normal range, whether you've eaten glucose or carbohydrates, or you've not eaten any carbohydrate, your blood will always have a stable flow of glucose. So when you're not eating, the liver burns fat to give you glucose. When you're eating, the pancreas gives you insulin to just regulate the blood glucose. So when you're eating, is the pancreas that is regulating your blood sugars. When you're fasting, the liver now starts regulating your blood sugars. But look at it this way. When you get that spike of glucose in your blood, the next thing that happens is the pancreas is informed, hey, there's a danger. We are having high glucose in our system, so please give us insulin. And this insulin is coming in specifically to open up your cells. Now, insulin is like a key. When it gets onto these cells, there are 3 cells that utilize glucose. One cell is the fat cells, but that one is where glucose is stored. But let's go back. When you've taken glucose, carbohydrates, and now you're having a steady flow of glucose in your blood, a spike in glucose, the pancreas gives you insulin, and the insulin comes on these cells, these 3 cells. One is the muscle cells. So why are we taking glucose into the muscle cells? Because we need energy. We are working out. Maybe we are walking. We are doing some exercise, some activities. So when you open up that cell, because insulin is the key that opens up these cells. So when you open up that cell, what happens is now glucose flows from blood into these cells. And when it goes into the muscle cells, it is converted, of course, into ATP. And ATP is the energy currency of the cells. Therefore, you're working out, you start getting that energy. That is the muscle cell. Cell number 2 that utilizes glucose is the liver cells. Now, in the liver, we are storing glucose temporarily so that when we get an attack, maybe this, like you're walking at night and a dog barks, you need energy to run. When there's an emergency, you need energy to run. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, you need energies to respond. So you need instant glucose. And assuming your muscles have exhausted their glucose, the glucose that is now stored in the liver is actually called glycogen. Basically, you take one glucose molecule plus another glucose, you combine together, you form glycogen. This glycogen is the one that is broken down so fast to give you instant energy for you to run, for you to survive, for you to maybe fight. Okay? So that is where we store glucose, but temporarily for an emergency. The third cell that utilizes glucose is the fat cells. Now, in the fat cells, assuming you have stored, you have muscles that have glucose, but you're not utilizing it because you're zero of activity, you're always on a remote, you always open your fridge and eat all the time, your glucose is always coming in. So the body expects glucose all the time. So what happens is, all this glucose is going to be converted to fats and pumped into the fat cells. Now remember this, that the role of insulin is to open these 3 cells, the muscle cells, the liver cells, and the fat cells, so that glucose flows from blood into these 3 cells, either for activity in the muscle, for temporary storage in the liver, or for permanent storage in the fat cells. But the body is not stupid. The body is expecting that one day there will be a natural calamity. One day there will be rains. Right now there are floods all over. So the body is expecting that, hey, one day I'm storing this for the rainy day. That one day you'll starve, you'll have a natural calamity, you'll end up fasting, you'll end up starving, and therefore I'll start burning this fat to give you this energy. This is basically stored for future. But most of you eat a lot of carbohydrates. 90 to 95% of your plates are carbohydrates. For example, in the morning you're taking tea that has milk. Now you know milk has a carbohydrate that is called lactose. When you boil that milk, you've destroyed the structure of protein. You've actually altered the structure of the protein. You've actually destroyed the structure of fat. Now you're left with only the lactose as an intact carbohydrate. And then you add sugar in that tea. That is another carbohydrate. And then you take that tea with bread. That is another carbohydrate. So as I look at your breakfast table, everything is a carbohydrate. Now then you move to the office. You're seated in a very good chair. You're just swinging because you're the boss. At 10, there is tea again that has sugar and possibly 2 mandazis. Maybe you do an egg. So at least there you tried. But that egg is fried. And it's fried in the seed oil. So you wasted the egg anyway. And then at lunch, you're going to do rice and beans, or chapati and beans. Beans are carbohydrates, rice is carbohydrates. You end up topping up on some vegetables. Let's say the cabbages. Now, a good percentage of the cabbage is fiber, which is carbohydrate. So I'm looking at your lunch. 98% of that lunch is carbohydrate. At 4, there is tea again. At 7, you take your ugali, big ugali, and some few vegetables and 2 pieces of meat, because your nutritionist said that red meat is toxic and you have to do 2 pieces of meat every week. So you enjoy them. Or your nutritionist said you take 2 eggs every week. So now it's time for you to take ugali, 2 eggs fried in ghee, in seed oils, plus the vegetables. Another 98% carbohydrate. Now I'm seated there looking at your supper. I'm wondering, and then you add a fruit, because of course they told you 1 fruit a day will keep a doctor away. So you add a banana, another carbohydrate. By the way, did you know fruits are carbohydrates? Or are you still thinking, if you're in this platform and you're still thinking fruits are the essential vitamins and we need fruits, they are healthy, you are mistaken. But we will get to understand how fruits destroy your liver and cause your fatty liver, which is a source of the metabolic syndrome. So sit back and enjoy this. So I'm looking at cumulative amounts of carbohydrates that you've eaten in that day. So much of it. You've taken literally all these calories being dumped into your system. Now, guess what? Every time you eat that meal, you spike blood glucose, you spike insulin. And then now you open up the cells and all these sugars, all this glucose is dumped into the fat cells. Dumped into the fat cells. Dumped into the fat cells. All through. Anytime I ask you what you eat, you keep telling me, I eat healthy. You know, Daktari, I don't know why I have this common cold all the time. I don't know why I got asthma. I don't know why this is not in our family. But I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm adding weight. I have been avoiding the saturated fats, the animal fats. I've not been eating meat, the eggs. But I don't know why I'm getting fat. I'm like, tell me how about what you eat. I eat a balanced diet. I'm like, okay, a balanced diet. Tell me how do you balance this diet? Because how did you know this is a balanced diet? How do you even dictate to the body balanced diet? Because your body wants the nutrients in the food. It's not even interested in you balancing the diet. How would you even know that this is the body's requirements for today? So who are you to try and actually balance diets for your body? Who are you? Who do you think you are to actually outweigh nature and start balancing diets for the body? How do you know the requirements of this body every single day? It varies from different individuals. But because of the guidelines that we follow, nutritional guidelines, every other time, we end up getting in trouble. And I tell you for free, nutritionists are one of the most important departments and one of the most important professions in healthcare. However, they are among the unhealthiest people in healthcare. Look at that department of nutrition in a hospital, set up in a certain corner, a very small office. But in that office, you will wonder, how did these people fit in this office? This is not to disrespect nutritionists. I understand there are nutritionists who understand the gospel and they are spreading it well. But look at your nutritionist right now. Anybody who has ever come across a very lean nutritionist, all through, every time you walk into a hospital, you get a lean nutritionist. Kindly raise your hand. Nutrition department, these are people who have been trained to actually help you remain the way you are. And I will say this with utmost confidence. Why? Because they have slept on the job. Apart from guidelines, most nutritionists do nothing. They're just there to regurgitate the syllabus. Keep on telling people to eat fruits and fruits are healthy. Keep on telling people you eat ugali. People who are diabetic, you can enjoy your ugali as long as it's this size, your fist size. You keep on telling people that you eat rice and beans because that is a balanced diet. And rice is carbohydrates, beans is carbohydrates. You have never taken a chance to do better. Why? Yet you're the backbone of healthcare. Nutritionists are one of the most unhealthiest people in healthcare. That one is for free, I can tell you. They know the information, but they never practice it. Again, the weird part is they know the wrong information and they keep regurgitating it. They keep wondering, how is it possible that these people are not recovering, yet I'm giving them nutrition advice? They even themselves keep wondering, why are they not losing weight even after eating a fruit every day? So this is the point. So when I look at cumulatively the amount of carbohydrates that you've taken, and in science, carbohydrates are actually what we call sugars, because they're the ones that are broken down to the three simple sugars. Number one is the milk sugar that is called lactose. Number two is the fruit and honey sugar that is called fructose. And number three is the carbohydrate sugar that is called glucose, that most of you know. Those are the three dangerous sugars. And when I tell you to drop milk, you think I'm joking. So let's go back. So you've taken that carbohydrate, you've absorbed it, you've not utilized it, because the only reason why you need to eat that carbohydrate is because you have a lot of activity and you need to burn it to get energy. You need to burn it to get energy. But we never burn it. We never fast. We never do possibly 2 meals a day. We are eating all the time, and in between we are still snacking. We are never active. We are on a laptops after laptop, we are on phone after phone, we are eating. After eating, we are sleeping. After sleeping, we are doing the same thing. The cycle continues. So when will you ever burn what you're storing? Remember, the fat cells are actually your refrigerators. So you're storing there so that one day you get them off and start using them as energy. But when do you ever burn your fat cells? Given that you don't fast, when do you ever burn that energy? So when you're doing that, you're actually telling the liver, hey, keep storing, keep storing. So the liver is actually in storage mode. Your body is in storage mode. Anytime you eat, you store. Anytime you eat, you store. And now 20, 30 years from now, you'll be diagnosed of diabetes. You'll be shocked. How do I have blood sugars? But you've been eating sugars all through. And now the weird part is that menace just continues when your doctor is busy writing that prescription for diabetes drugs. Now I'll repeat this. Dietary conditions are supposed to be handled through dietary solutions. There is no drug that can change what you've been eating. There is no amount of prayer that will change your behavior of eating. You go to the mountains, you come back. You go inject those injections for weight loss and come back. You still be the same person because you're still eating the same things that got you where you are. Now you're straining that liver because every time you're bringing in glucose, the liver is struggling to pump them into the fat cells, struggling to know where should I take this. But remember this, we said our bodies have an innate way of healing, right? So we need to supply our body with nutrients that it has to use to help you in healing processes. Understand this, when you're suffering from any chronic condition, be it asthma, be it arthritis, be it hypertension, be it diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, stroke, number one on the things or on the priorities that you're supposed to do should be stopping what caused you that disease or that condition. So how many of us have been diagnosed with diabetes, but you still eat wheat products, but you still eat bread in the name of brown bread, but you still drink soda in the name of diet soda, but you still eat the same food, you still even do sugar? When the sugars and the carbohydrates are the ones that brought you where you are, how many of us are still eating the same foods that we actually telling you these are the foods that caused you this problem? How many of you are diabetic, but they're still eating ugali? They're still eating rice. How many? And now you're told brown bread is better than white bread. You're told brown is better than white, as if your body knows color. When you eat that brown chapati, it gets into your stomach. It is not brown chapati anymore. It is a starch. Even when it's still in the mouth, it is not brown chapati. It is a starch. It is a carbohydrate. It will be acted upon by the salivary amylases and then into the stomach. When you absorb it from the gut, it will be glucose. You will not absorb brown chapati. You will absorb glucose. So therefore, don't allow them to lie to you that brown is better than white. By the time you're absorbing it, you're not absorbing anything brown. You're absorbing glucose. Your body will respond the same way by giving you insulin so that this glucose is pumped into the cells for either utilization or storage. It's getting interesting. Now, the more you get those spikes of insulin, you are actually tiring the liver because number one role of insulin is to stop the liver from getting any other source of energy, from burning fat, from breaking down protein to give you energy. Because now you're bringing in energy, the liver only struggles to convert this glucose into fats and send it into the fat cells. That is for the glucose. Now to the fruits and to the honey, which is called the fructose. The fruit sugar lies to doctors and nutritionists that it doesn't cause a spike in insulin. That is true. This is the reason why they think this is a healthy one. And fructose is present in that soda, in that energy drink, in that processed food. It's actually labeled high corn fructose syrup in that tomato paste that you're using thinking that it has tomatoes. It has none. It is fructose. Now, that fructose is the one that keeps you addicted to that food. You know very well, the French fries without tomato paste, they don't taste the same. You need the tomato paste for them to taste as if they are what you want. You know very well that if I give you French fries without adding some ketchup on it, you're not interested. Why? Because you are not taking the tomatoes in the tomato paste. You are an addict to the sugar in the tomato paste, but you are in denial. That sugar that is present in the tomato paste, fructose, is number 2 on the sweetest things on this planet. Number 1 is sucrose. And guess what sucrose is? Sucrose is basically glucose and fructose. We go back to the same thing. So sucrose is a combination of glucose and fructose. That is number 1 of the sweetest things. Number 2 is fructose, the fruit sugar and the honey sugar. Most of you will also admit that you don't eat that fruit because it has vitamins. You eat it because you're a sugar addict and they are sweet. If I get the sugar out of the banana, nobody will eat those bananas. If I remove sugar from that watermelon, oh my goodness, I will sell them to myself. You know very well. Who knows the taste of vitamins? Who? So then you ask me, why am I eating fruits? And I confidently tell you, I'm eating them because they are healthy. It's a lie. You're eating them because they are sweet.